Hey everybody, welcome back. So I got another rifle to show you here today. This is another 30-30, this time by Mossberg. It's their 464. So before we go any further, let me show you the weapon is safe and nothing in the tube, nothing in the chamber. So that out of the way, typical lever action rifle, once again in 30-30. Side loading gate similar to a Winchester Model 94 or a Marlin. This one does have an angled eject with drilled and tapped for scope, so you technically can put a scope on this rifle. Now this comes in a couple of different versions. This one happens to have a walnut stock with what they're calling their marine coat finish. So fairly all weather and nicely finished stock on that as well. There's a little bit of a close-up for you. Checkering is nice. Hard to tell. I don't think it's press checkering. It looks cut, but I'm sure it was done by a machine. But overall, finishing is pretty nice on this. There's some complaints about this gun. This is a rifle that everybody loves to hate on for whatever reason. And first, manufactured in 2008. I think this gun, like a lot of rifles, has kind of had its growing pains. This is let's call it a 2019 version, and just from the reviews that I've read, it seems to be improved from what they were doing in past years. So I'll just go through some of the criticisms, and then I'll tell you a little bit about this one and maybe how this is different or some improvements they've made. The number one thing that everybody complains about this rifle is that the action is not smooth. And, everybody that complains about that says, I lubed it up and after I worked it a whole bunch, it kind of smoothed out. Well, it's the same with this gun. Right out of the box, it was pretty tight. I like a lubricant called G96. So I sprayed it up with some G96, kind of wiped up the exterior, and it cycles pretty smooth. I got no complaints. So, that being said, I think the finishing, if you compare it to maybe an old Winchester or something like that, the finishing is, the edges are just a little bit sharper. But, once again, working it with my fingers in the lever, I'm not getting that sense that, oh, that's hurting, that's jammed up. It's a typical lever. Once again, edges are fairly smooth. As far as the side loading gate, I'll show you maybe what I'm talking about in a minute here. But of course, the spring is stiff, and there's a little bit of a burr just right on. I wouldn't even say a burr; it's a sharp edge, as opposed to a rounded edge just inside the door. So when you feed that, just the rim of the case is just getting hung up there a little bit, and I'll show you that. But that's something that maybe just a little bit of smoothing out, or maybe even just a touch with a file. It's not even a burr, it's just a sharper edge. Other than that, like I said, the wood is nice, the checkering's nice. Sights on this one, originally it came with a standard, let's call it a non-fiber optic. I haven't seen it, so I don't know exactly what it was, but the complaint was that this gun needs a better sight. So Mossberg did put these Williams fiber optics on there, and I'll just try and get a close-up of that. But it's pretty typical. I've got this same sight on my Chapel Little Badger, and that's just not going to want to focus there. And it does work quite well. So that's the fiber optic in the back. The elevated, just there we go. And the fiber optic in the front there as well. So nothing fancy, but it does work. So that's another thing that's been addressed. The other one was there was no sling mounts, and actually all the old Winchesters, none of them had swivel mounts on it. But I guess maybe because customer complained, they've got the sling swivel mounts on there from the factory. Okay, so whatever, that's fine. Safety, of course, in the back. So all the new levers are coming with this case of tang safety. Forward is fire, you've got a little red dot to see its fire. The newer rifles, as opposed to some of the older levers, like my old pre-64 Winchester 94, also have that's kind of a secondary safety in here. And I'm sure you guys, you know, that have fooled around with levers are familiar with that. So basically, your lever needs to be completely, you know, depressed. Otherwise, that trigger won't pull. And I guess that's to prevent, you know, maybe an out of battery fire. Let's just say that. So, you know, that the bolt is all the way closed, and then that'll fire. You know, the trigger pull, there's a lot of creep. I'm just gonna, I'll give you just kind of a shot. So a little bit of take up, a fair amount of creep. Like I say, there's the take up, and just give you a little bit of a shot. You know, like I say, pretty creepy. I haven't put a scale on it, but I'm gonna guess it's a typical 5 pounds. So not the worst trigger, but you know, all in all, I think this is designed to be a good budget option. So if you look at a new Winchester, you're looking at 3 times the money. If you're looking at a Henry, a Chiappa, you know, something like that, you're 2 times the money. So this gun in the $500 range, I think is a good workhorse. You know, I didn't have it out, you know, hardly a day, and I've got some scratches in there already. But that's what this gun's kind of designed for. So a budget workhorse. You know, everything's functional. It shoots, you know, pretty well. I would say it's probably not as accurate even as my 1953 Winchester Model 94, but I haven't fooled around with loads or different, you know, bullet powder combinations really to see what this gun is going to like to shoot. So, you know, so for the money, good kind of close quarter, heavy brush gun like this, you know, deer, bear, whatever. I think it's pretty hard to go wrong, you know, in that $500 range. You really can't get anything these days for $500 that's even worth shooting. Certainly not with a walnut stock and, you know, kind of a classic feel to it like this Mossberg. So I'm going to go ahead and take a couple of shots. I'm going to reposition the camera, and we'll get set up for that, and just show you guys what it handles like. Target set up here at about 40 yards, and I got the camera flipped around. Let's go ahead and load this. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in a little bit closer, and I'll show you what I was talking about, and we'll see how that focuses. When we load this. So where that's hanging up just on the back side, that rim there. So you kind of have to, you know, push it down and past. And like I said, I think just maybe a little bit of work there. It's not bad, but just get her pushed down and in. And of course the last one is always a little bit of a fight. But this one, you can actually depress that gate, which like my Winchester Model 94, it's really hard to depress the gate because the shell in the tube is pushing back kind of against it. So this one actually is even easier than my Winchester. So there we go. We got 3 in there. I'm just gonna go ahead and put my earplugs on, and then we'll take these 3 at the target. We'll go down and take a look and see how we do. All right, let's go check it out. Okay, once again, we'll take a look here. So there's our 3 on the target. Looks like we're all a little bit right to center, so that's maybe a sight adjustment and a little bit of vertical stringing there. We got one that's 3 inches high. What's that? About 1 inch high and about 1 inch low. So that could be me, but that's kind of a weird string at 40 yards, or that could just be be the load. So I think I'm going to fool around a little bit more and maybe try some different bullet powder combinations. Those were actually factory Winchester Super X's, 170 grains. So I'm going to try some different things, fool around with it a little bit more, see if we can't dial that in. But all in all, take it for what it is. Mossberg 464 and 3030. Not a bad option if you're looking for something in that price range. So anyway, thanks for watching. Till next time, take it easy.